Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It is Thursday, November 16th. We're halfway through the month. I'm sitting here in a world of fucking
Thanksgiving is
darkness.
next week.
I
What the
know,
fuck,
I
dude?
know, I know, dude. Time is meaningless now. It
We're
means
sitting here
nothing.
making PAX East plans for
Yeah,
March. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
we are actually. We are. And
dude.
of course, if anybody didn't know, if we are, of course, making our glorious podcast return to PAX East next year. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hoping to do another
hotels have been
panel,
booked
our second panel. Yeah. Good times,
with
good
a
times.
very cool special guest that
Hopefully.
we're not gonna spoil right now.
Yeah, Bobo, I hate to break it to you. Thanksgiving is next week.
It
I
sure
don't
is.
like this.
It
I
sure
don't like
is.
how fast this year is moving.
So guys, let's talk about what tonight's gonna look like, okay? So for those of you in chat, we're gonna talk for about 30-ish minutes here about whatever we've been playing this
We'll
week.
do our what we've been playing. We'll talk some
Right.
BS. But then, just like we did with Samantha Barrett, we have this interview we did with Dave Jones, the voice of Halsin, the full actor behind Halsin in Baldur's Gate 3, that we did over the weekend. So we're going to air that for the back chunk of the show. It's a great time. Dave Jones, incredible interview.
He is a good
Super
dude.
likable, super sweet dude. Great time. So definitely
He
look
is
forward to that.
he is an extremely cool dude. I'm so pissed off that my key lights are busted right now, man. Like I know it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's like fuck.
You're
Like
driving
I
me
look,
crazy that your mic is like not actually enough in front of your mouth.
no, it is. It just looks like that. It looks like that because of the weird angle.
It gets
But
quiet when you turn away from it because.
is that better, Derek?
Are we going to get like this?
Are we gonna get weird?
No, we're not.
But so yeah, after at that point around 9:30ish, we're just going to air right here on the stream our interview with Dave Jones, who is Halzen, great guy, and we're very much excited for you guys to check that out. If we have anybody, I've noticed a few new people in chat. Please, we like follows, we like subs. You're not obligated to do either,
John's
but
required to do the hype beast shit once per podcast.
I am. Well, also because one, we just like having more follows, but two, we are, like none of us actually make any money from this gig. This is a hobby, and we'll take any help we can get to get us to PAX and do interviews and stuff like that. It is not it's not a vacation. We actually do a lot of work there. It's
Busy
kind of like
work.
nonstop when we get to
My
PAX.
feet are gonna hurt so bad. It's okay. It's worth it.
But that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what we've been playing. And if you guys don't mind, I'd like to go first.
Only if Justin
Because
allows it.
Justin, you okay with that?
I'm considering. Yeah, you can go.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So it's not about what I've been playing; it's about what I've been playing my games on. And for the past couple days, I've been playing my games on the PlayStation Portal. Uh, so I've this is a really interesting device. One, it is light as shit. Like it weighs nothing. Two, from a strict from just like an aesthetic standpoint, it physically is the most comfortable handheld I've ever picked up, and I've seen that echoed by a few other people. Like it is
I mean, it's
extremely
basically just a DualSense controller with a screen in it,
yeah,
right?
it is extremely comfortable to hold. Three, it solves a problem I did not have, but fulfills a need that I also did not know I needed, which is playing Final Fantasy 14 in my fucking bed with the PlayStation 2 floors down. For that, it's a magical little device, and it runs. It like if you've got a good internet connection, I plugged my PS5 into my Ethernet, and I've got a mesh network all throughout my house. It runs like a fucking dream. Like I was playing Spider-Man 2 at 60 frames a second. I noticed stutter maybe once,
I know I've dabbled. I tried the remote play thing for PlayStation a couple times, and like their remote play service, if you have everything set up right, is very good compared to like a lot of the other streaming alternatives.
really
So
is.
I have been very impressed with that when I've tried it. It's not something I'm going to use very much, but I'm not surprised that more people are trying it out now that the Portal has released and are getting good results. So
And so what's really cool about it is you can turn your PlayStation Portal off, but it will still, like, your PlayStation stays on. So you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of, when you boot your Portal down, your PlayStation boots down, then you got to boot it back up. If I just hit the power button here, it brings that little screen up, and then in a second, you got to hit it to press unlock, and then it just connects. And when it connects, it's got this cool little portal thing here that you'll see. I just tap it.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's cool. And then you are literally just right back. That's Final Fantasy 14. You're just right back in the game. It's got a battery life, I would say, of about 4 or 5 hours, which is not bad. It's a neat device. And for me, it's a game changer. This is going to change the way I play PlayStation 5 games because I do enjoy being upstairs with Vicky and the dogs. I don't always want to be down here in the basement. That said, this is 110% not a device for everyone. One, it does not have Bluetooth, which is just the weirdest fucking omission.
I mean, that's just a PlayStation thing at this point, which is weird. It's not
PlayStation
weird.
has
It's
Bluetooth.
because they want you to buy their PlayStation wireless earbuds.
Proprietary. Yeah,
they want you to buy proprietary stuff, and it's also weird because I've heard that the earbuds are not very good, which is.
Really? I've only heard glowing things about.
I've heard they're not very good from a couple of audio files.
So I was talking with Paris in DMs, and he told me that
Paris.
What's that?
I'm just bullshitting.
Yeah, he told me that the buds are ass.
I'd heard that they're not good. I've heard that from people who were like, and it's weird because Sony is like the king of true wireless earbuds, right? So it's weird that the PlayStation ones are iffy. But I've not listened to them.
I know there's also
myself.
like a significant issue. Isn't there also like usually a significant issue with like input, like with like audio latency and gaming
and Bluetooth? There's
over Bluetooth.
I mean, it depends. Like, when I'm using the I've got Bluetooth, a Bluetooth headset I use with PS5 sometime that has no delay whatsoever, but it's also like a $400 pair of fucking
I've never had issues with Bluetooth on like gaming on like a mobile device or on my Switch, so I don't think that's inherently a problem, or a meaningful one anyway. I don't know.
The other thing I'll say about the PlayStation Portal is that I feel very sorry for all the children and mothers, especially the parents, the fathers and mothers who buy this for their kids without a PS5 this Christmas and are like, I got my son a portable PlayStation 5.
That's the thing that's going to get people. I mean, like, surely you would think people will look at a $200 device and not go, clearly this doesn't play PS5 games. But I do worry that people are going to think it's a handheld, right? And it's not.
They 100%.
It's an accessory
will.
to your PS5.
And I want to be very clear about that. This is a remote play device. It does not play games locally. It will never play games locally. That's what it is. And if you don't have a decent internet connection, don't fucking bother. This is gonna. Now I will say, Derek, that I confirmed that I went to my buddy's across the street yesterday, got on his Wi-Fi network, connected to my PS5 and played fine. So this will work.
It doesn't have to be on the same local area network.
Yes,
but it is,
which is good.
That's
However,
good.
There's the good and the bad. There is no web browser on this machine. So if you're trying to connect to something like hotel or coffee shop Wi-Fi, you're shit out of fucking luck.
That's a problem with, I mean, even a lot of like portable gaming devices that have a web browser.
Did the Switch have a problem with that for a while?
Well, yeah, because like it turns out that
back
the
at launch,
crappy like on console web browsers are not good at interacting with these stupid fucking gateway websites that let you log into Wi-Fi.
CJ, you're right. CJ and Chet, you can absolutely play The Quiet Man at work with this thing. 110%.
Now, I don't know why you would, because you will both get fired and have had to have played The Quiet Man. So
you will also get fired from this podcast as well, which is another thing.
John, you've played it 3 times. So
yeah, I played it once for charity and the second time because you fucking tricked me.
That right? It is only twice.
It's twice, and I didn't play the second time. I had to sit there and watch.
Third time, one of these times, I'm gonna get you again.
Fuck you, Derek.
I will wait so long. I'm going to wait so far into the future, dude. It's going to be like 3 more years from now. And you're going to get fucking Quiet Man'd again. I promise you. I'm going to get you again.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll remember that.
John will remember that.
PlayStation Portal, a very cool little device for a very niche audience. I will be interested to see what kind of legs this thing has. I will be interested to see what kind of sales Sony's able to squeeze out of this thing.
It's kind of weird because like apparently like it wasn't doing great in pre-orders and stuff, but like it apparently
sold
really
out,
picked up after the reviews.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how it does long term. It's not a device for me because I live in a little apartment. Like, there's no real difference between just walking out to the living room versus being in my room.
And I want to be clear, like given the choice, like obviously I'm gonna play PS5 games on my big ass TV if I have it. Like I'm not. This isn't gonna replace my television, but what it will do is one, if I'm out of town for some
Wii
reason.
U gamepad for your PlayStation 5.
Yeah, it's well, Derek, like you said, it's like a Wii U gamepad.
Yeah.
For my PS5, right? Or if I want to play in bed, which I often want to do because I love handheld gaming, I can do this. But I also want to make it clear there's no screen protector that comes with this thing. There's no case that comes with this thing. So in those regards, you're on your fucking own. So be very
careful.
careful.
Really unusual looking shape, so that's going to be a fun one to get a case for.
Yeah, I've already started.
Are there any out yet?
No.
Are any cases for it out yet? Okay.
Not even like a Sony first party one that's way overpriced.
Dude, Sony, and I was surprised about that.
That's
Sony
not ideal.
Sony threw this motherfucker in a box and was like, "Here you go." And
it does exist. Please pay us $200 for it.
Yeah. Now, this is the last thing I'll say. I actually love the power cord setup on this thing. One thing that annoys the shit out of me about the Switch is that the power outlet is right on the bottom. So like if you're laying down,
it's so annoying.
It's annoying as shit, right? Like Justin knows exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. The power outlet for this is on the back under this groove here.
Okay.
So it just slides up, and you could just like when you're laying down, rest it on your whatever, and you're not actually like
you could do the
fighting with the yeah. So that's actually a design aspect of this thing I really love. I love looking at this thing. It's literally just a fucking PS5 controller with a screen in the middle.
With a long phone in the middle.
Yeah. It looks like a lot of the like silly mock-ups that we always get like before like the next gen of something launches or that people pass around.
Hey, it's no Nintendo NX controller, but
yeah, it's like wow,
the oval.
the oval.
Crazy. It's crazy. Now, what I would love to see is Sony actually doing something else with this formula other than remote play, like maybe making like using this as a second screen for some games, right? Or like for some first party games. Like
that's
bring your
not
map
going to
up.
fucking happen, bud.
Oh, of course not. But that's just something
happen.
I would love to see happen.
Do you remember when like it was probably I think it was like right around like 2013 or so, and like every game had like a phone app for a second screen thing that was always just like, oh, you can control like a UAV on your phone.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway,
that died off real quick.
That's what I got. I've been playing the PlayStation Portal, and it's pretty cool.
Bustin, what you been playing, dude?
So a friend of mine actually surprised me yesterday and got me RoboCop Rogue City. RoboCop Rogue City. Which
I've heard so many contradicting things about the RoboCop game.
It's surprisingly good. So I think a bit of history about the developer is needed because they've made several games. All of them have been like licensed 80s properties. One of them was a pretty infamous Rambo game, which is one of the worst games.
Oh my
ever
god,
made.
the Rambo game? Yes.
Yeah.
I never
it's
played
dog
that.
shit.
Yeah, it's truly awful. And then the game they also released Terminator Resistance a couple years back, which I also did play. I played that like last year. Surprisingly good game. Like it's very janky, like not super polished, but like there is a heart and passion behind the design of the game. You could tell it was just, a small team trying to do some stuff, and they didn't quite have the budget or time to totally get it to pan out. But it was an interesting game. I had a good time with it. I think they do a couple neat things, like with, early on in the game, you like basically cannot damage Terminators. So like you have to go about it. You have to like approach things in different ways. That game was cool. It was flawed, but it was like a solid 7 out of 10 game. Little janky, little unpolished, but like it had a heart and passion to it. And like you could tell that the team really got and cared about the franchise. Like they nailed the art style. The tone was spot on. Like they did a really good job with that stuff, which you like to see in a licensed game. RoboCop Rogue City takes that and it cranks it up. And it's fascinating. Like again, there's still a lot of warts. They are a small team, you know. This is not a huge budget game. However, it's probably like the best use of Unreal Engine 5 I've seen yet. It like a lot of games that have been coming out on Unreal Engine 5 don't use all the features, or they have significant performance issues, significant image quality issues, or both. We're kind of in a period where that's not been impressing all that much. And then all of a sudden this random RoboCop game drops with like the most insane lighting and stuff I've ever seen in a game. Like it looks crazy good. And like the shootouts and stuff are just like there's so much destruction, but it's all made to look like 80s movies effects. So just giant chunks torn out of the wall, bits of wood and concrete flying all over the place. Like really silly, over the top blood splatter and everything. Just
Justin, can you mention
ridiculous over the top?
Can you bring up the fact that it looks like RoboCop, that it looks like Fallout at first glance with the fucking HUD elements? Like I saw.
Yeah, it does. It does have the bright green. Yeah. It does have the solid bright green HUD, but they have the actual RoboCop actor is doing his voice for the game, which is really cool.
Incredible.
He must sound old as shit now, though.
He sounds like RoboCop. Like
really?
he's still doing a good job with that voice. But like there's a surprise. Yeah, Peter Weller is back as RoboCop for the game, which is really cool. And like again, they just like with that Terminator game, they just completely nail the aesthetic and tone. Like especially when you're working with something like RoboCop, like a lot of people sometimes miss like the satire element of it, or they go too far, making it too goofy. And they really just managed to hit that line perfectly, where it really just feels like this is a RoboCop thing. And they also have a couple like cool systems that they put in there. It's not just like a linear FPS like I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. There are some segments where you're just kind of wandering around sections of Detroit. You can issue parking tickets and stuff like that in certain places.
Dude, I would issue so many fucking parking tickets.
There's a system, but there's a system where like you have to earn public trust. And you have to balance that up against like upholding the law. So like sometimes just giving somebody
would not have any public trust.
John, there's a reason you're not a fucking cop.
There's a reason I'm not RoboCop.
Yeah.
Or just a cop.
So but some of those are funny, like trusted. Just letting off somebody with a warning might build public trust. But like there was one funny one that I just did where there was a kid that's like, RoboCop, do the robot dance for me. And you can just either cite him for blasting his music too loud, or you can just be like, watch and learn and do the robot for him and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a full dialogue system that will affect like outcomes of stuff as well as how people treat you. It's just been a very neat, fun game. You know, it's not super polished. The controls are not great, but it works because you're playing as RoboCop. It does feel like you're controlling a fridge, but even in the cutscenes and stuff, like it looks like in the first movie, like the wide shots of somebody in this suit just trying to move through the scene. And like they nailed the ads and the dystopia stuff. It's just very pleasantly surprising. And like this team, like in much the same way Terminator Resistance, like you can tell this team has just like a real passion for the source material, but also gets it in a way that a lot of licensed games have not, or a lot of things that are just trying to go for like similar tone to like 80s and 90s action movies. They kind of crank it up so much that it's almost like parody levels, even if it's trying to be an homage. And like this team just really connects with the source material and like nails the art direction. And the game looks great and it's been fun. I'm having a really good time with it. So I definitely think if you like FPSs, you like RoboCop, I give this a look because it's a surprisingly interesting game.
You're gonna get me not only play the RoboCop game, but also finally play that Terminator game.
Does
Dude, the Terminator game is pretty good.
you guys ever
like
think about whether or not
there's
RoboCop fucks?
How can he?
he's a
I mean,
face.
Yeah, he's
right.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess that doesn't hold some people back. But
I mean, he can put that face wherever he wants, dude. I mean, it's that face can go anywhere.
I'm
I
not sure
mean,
if it's in his programming, but
why? No, sex is programmed into every human being. So again, I ask, does RoboCop fuck?
I'm infamously very open-minded, and I'm choosing not to examine this question.
We have
Moving on.
nothing but cowards on this podcast.
Correct.
Nothing
Moving
but
on.
Cowards.
Is that what you
what
got,
have you been playing,
Bustin?
Derek? Yeah, what have you been playing, Derek?
So I've been playing. I already talked last week about Alan Wake 2, and I've continued to play Alan Wake 2. I've played a lot less Alan Wake 2 than I thought I would be playing, because, and I didn't even know that this was a thing. Risk of Rain Returns came out, which is a remake.
I was going to say that's a remake, not a sequel.
It is
right?
a remake
Yeah.
of the original Risk of Rain. It is a remake of Risk of Rain with a remastered soundtrack and some new tracks with new content. It is basically like a remake plus an expansion pack because there's more classes, there's more items, more enemies, more bosses, more levels, everything.
I've never played Risk of Rain.
You would.
I'm not familiar with Risk of Rain.
So so this is cool because I get to talk to you all about two games that I deeply love. Then, because
I know those games have a lot of fans behind them, but I also think I might have them confused with another game.
maybe.
So
the original
which
Risk
is the
of
one that
Rain-
has like there. Do you play as like this like cat owl or not owl cat like thing?
No.
Okay.
I think you just play as like
You're
a
thinking
game that has
Rain
Rain
World.
person.
You're
Rain
thinking
World
Rain
is the one
World.
I'm thinking of. Yes. So
Rain World. Okay.
I'm not that familiar with Risk of Rain.
Yeah.
It's like a
so-
roguelike, right?
Yes, basically. So Risk of Rain, the Risk of Rain and Risk of Rain 2 are extremely similar but extremely different games in a way that I will explain. Risk of Rain 1 is a like pixel art side-scrolling roguelike where you and you can do like co-op, right? Local or on the internet. And for people, like you pick your character class, you spawn into the world, and the basic gimmick behind Risk of Rain is that each level, your goal is to kill enemies, get money, like open chests and get items, find the teleporter. When you find the teleporter and activate it, it spawns a boss, and you have to survive against that boss and a wave of enemies for at least 90 seconds, plus kill the boss. After which you move to the next level, and you go on and on and on until you hit the end. But the longer you take, the harder the game gets. So you have to balance, do I want to spend more time exploring for more opportunities to get items, or do I want to get out of this fucking level and move on? Because the longer I take where I'm not doing anything, that clock is ticking up and the enemies are getting more powerful and more numerous. And yes, potentially looping back through stages instead of going on. Like you have the ability once you get to the end of the 5th stage to either go to the final stage or loop back around and keep going.
What happens when it starts raining?
It is a really interesting, really unique roguelike that's very challenging but incredibly satisfying. It has extremely varied character classes that are a lot of fun to play, and the vibes are so fucking good. It's got this great weird atmospheric sort of feel. The soundtrack is fucking incredible. It's great. Risk of Rain 2 was a completely different game, right? It's that formula, but they made it a 3D, like third person, like hero shooter in the same format of we're going to drop you and your teammates into levels. You're going to go around killing things, getting money, getting items, find the teleporter, move on to the next area. But it's really interesting that like Risk of Rain 1 is a 2D pixel art version of this concept. And then Risk of Rain 2 is a 3D, more modern, like online shooter in the same basic concept.
Which one do you prefer?
That's hard, man. It's hard because also like the content's pretty different. Like they've made sure that while there are some classes that are in both games, each game has a lot of unique classes. And also like characters are different because like mechanics and moves that work in 2D do not translate to 3D as well, right? The Commando, the first Risk of Rain is on Switch. Risk of Rain Returns is on everything. I think Risk of Rain 2 is on everything at this point. But like,
I can imagine they're super demanding games, right? Like
you'd be surprised
visually.
when you get a lot of stuff going on screen, because you can get crazy amounts of enemies and effects. You know, especially at higher levels of difficulty. But I mean, like a great example is like one of the abilities that the Commando class has in Risk of Rain 1 is you can fire a shot that pierces through enemies, which is great in a 2D platformer, right? Because you shoot through a line of like 10 to 12 dudes that are on the same platform as you lining up, coming at you. But in a 3D environment, it's really hard to line up a shot to hit that many people at once. So like they have to rethink the kits too. I think that especially with Risk of Rain Returns being such a good remake and update to the original game, we're now in this really interesting place where like Risk of Rain Returns and Risk of Rain 2 are very good, very modern games that show you the same sort of formula adapted to two completely different formats of game. And I think they work great as companions to each other. But I do think more people will find Risk of Rain 2 more, probably more accommodating, right? It's because it's like a third person shooter. Like it's just something that people will, and I think it's, I think Risk of Rain 2 is also maybe a little easier to get into and feel good at. Risk of Rain 1 is punishing. I love it, but it's punishing for sure.
Yeah, that's my kind of game.
Yeah, dude, you'd probably love trying both of these, honestly. Risk of Rain Returns, by the way, for being again, not like a simple remaster. They even remake all of the pixel artwork with, it's still pixel, but like it's better quality pixel artwork and the animation work is way better.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking at it now. This is actually quite pretty.
Yeah, it's a $15 game. Like that's crazy to me. You can get it on Steam at least. You can get Risk of Rain Returns and Risk of Rain 2 and the expansion to Risk of Rain 2 for $48.
Promise there's just so much shit to play right now.
I know. Risk of Rain is so addictive that even though it's a remake of a game that I've already played, granted with new content, right? I have not been able to progress in Alan Wake 2 because I keep doing like one more run in Risk of Rain.
Just one more.
It's that like Vampire Survivors level of like,
yeah, that's like me in Dead Cell.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you will fall so hard for Risk of Rain. You will.
Speaking of like just so much to play right now, I knew there was Dredge DLC coming, but I thought it was next year, and then all of a sudden PlayStation's like, yeah, it's out today, and I'm like, wait, what?
I gotta play that. I love Dredge, so I've got to get into that.
Dredge was so good,
play, man. Like I'm gonna be up at midnight playing Super Mario RPG before I go to bed. So fucking excited.
I know, and then you got to go to work tomorrow.
Shut the fuck up, Derek. Guys, I think it's about time we dropped that Dave Jones interview.
Yeah. Thank you all for being with us for the actual live part of the show. Normally we would do, I don't know, there's been a couple of news topics this week, but like we had a big interview. This is really what we wanted to do. This is a good interview that we had. There were some good questions, some good answers. Dave is so much more down to earth than you would ever expect, especially from somebody who has got that level of like, because the whole Baldur's Gate 3 cast have become like mini internet celebrities in their own right, know? And it's incredible how many of them we've spoken to now, and clearly that fame, that attention has not gone to anybody's heads. Dave is a good dude. So if that's what we got, this is technically it for us this week. We will see you all not next week. We won't be on next week because it'll be Thanksgiving. So we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Stay tuned for the interview. It's coming right now.
All right, later, y'all. If I can actually get it to.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Super Deluxe Gamescast interview. And today we are going to be talking with Dave Jones, the voice actor behind, well, the actor, I shouldn't say voice actor because these are actors. The actor behind Halzen in Baldur's Gate 3. Now, this is the second member of the cast we've had on. If you guys remember, we had Samantha Baird on, and now we have the Druid, everyone's favorite Druid. Dave, thank you so much for agreeing to spend a little time with us this morning. I know that your time is valuable, and we deeply appreciate it.
Oh, seriously, it's an absolute pleasure to come on. Sam had an absolute blast here. So yeah, honestly, it's I'm humbled to be asked. Thank you.
No. I mean, seriously, the honors is all ours. This is fantastic.
I
Guys,
love that even
good
just
morning.
your regular voice is just Halston. Like I love it. Like you just close your eyes and you're like, "Oh, everyone's favorite druid is just chatting me up."
No, it's really not. No, I mean this is a lot more nasally. Olsen's he's definitely a little bit more down there.
There we go.
Yeah, there's Halzen. Yeah.
Love it.
But I a lot of people say, like, I mean, I actually have in my head when I hear amazing characters, like you've got the ability to like be that voice constantly 24/7. Why aren't you that? And then I've got me like this, and then I've got the ability to do this. Why aren't you in this all the time? And I kind of get it now.
Well, so like I'm gonna go ahead and, you know what? I'm just gonna ask the question that there's been one question that I've wanted to ask you ever since I learned you were coming on, and the question is this: what was your reaction to realizing that everyone is thirstier for Halsin than I think any other character in the game? Like the level of thirst for Halsin is beyond the pale.
Astarion's up there. It's like the two of them together.
I think Astarion's up there, but I mean, I know that on my Twitter feed, for example, I see more thirst for Halsin than I do anyone else.
I think that says more about your feed.
I was gonna say, I think you self-selected the bear respecters, John.
The algorithm works off of your own, choices. So
Look,
that's
man,
a new
dude,
thing.
don't judge me for following all the Halsin fan accounts. Come on.
No. It's fine. I have an addendum to your question, is because Dave, how did you react because I remember it all really started when that first announcement came out that you could in fact have sex with the bear. And that's when everything blew up.
That is legitimately when the pre-orders blew up. And I mean, there was other announcements at that same time. It was a big trailer, but like that's kind of the mimetic part that blew up on social media.
Like, how did you react, like knowing that was you?
Well, I mean, I'll take the first part. Basically, like, when did you realize that there was this thirst? And basically, it was coming to the end of the stuff for early access, and we were still doing lines for it. The game was out in early access, and I was going to this studio to do more sessions, and the guys at Pit Stop, the studio we work at, they were saying, "So, Dave, have you seen Tumblr?" Said, no.
Dangerous set of words.
Exactly it. I said, no. I've very, very much been trying to stay away from specifically Tumblr. But I was aware that there were like things on Reddit, and quite a lot of stuff on Reddit, and but Larian's got their own Discord as well for the fans, and they brought up some stuff, and basically, I could see that he was very popular in that respect. There were people wanting to climb Mount Halsin, and so
Wow.
yeah. And that was lovely. It was nice that he was like getting not so much popularity in that respect. It was nice that they had something to have fun with. Basically, it was that was nice in itself. And yeah, if it wasn't for the fans wanting more of him, not necessarily just the thirst pocket that he is,
Right.
I think if it wasn't for that in early access, then there's no way he'd be as big a part of the game that he is now.
You know what? So I've got my own theory as to why, or well, it's the one reason that Halsin has resonated with players so much, other than the fact that, like, let's face it, he's built like a brick shithouse, right?
Yeah.
But Halsin is nice. And the example I'll use is whenever you tell a character, hey, like, stay behind in the party or back in camp for a little while, like, you'll hear everything from, whatever, I'll sit here and do nothing, it sounds awful. Or, Karlak's like, really? And Gale's like, not a very good decision, but okay. Halsin's just like, whatever you need, man. Whatever you need, my friend. It's all good.
He's the bro of the crew.
Halsin's just like, I'll be right here waiting for you. Not a problem. And he is the only character that does that. I don't know if any of you any of you guys have picked up on that, but Halsin's just like,
yeah,
no
he
problem.
doesn't guilt trip you and make you feel like a piece of shit when you leave people in the camp.
Yeah, he's very much not like that. And John, the writer, and he writes for Shadowheart as well. Which two very different characters. Yeah, and so Halsin is just laid back, easy. I mean, he's there smoking his pipe, and you definitely know what's in the pipe. It's
working out for him though.
I
want to go back to I want to go back to what Dave mentioned. Is that so? You said that it was the early access feedback that led to Halsin getting kind of more to do. I think that's really interesting because that's exactly what Sam said about Karlak. So it's really cool to see that both of you got expanded roles because of how beloved you were in early access. I just think that's a really cool little tidbit that came out of that.
Yeah, the fans really latched onto him and basically, like you say, because he doesn't bitch and moan. He is a really nice, laid back guy to have as a companion as well, and basically because he was that likable. He's not disruptive in the group. He is quite nice to have in the party along with you. So
just your little ride or die bro. Like you're like, hey, let's do something. He's like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm with you.
It's funny listening to you guys because you guys have a completely different perspective than I do. Because I actually romanced Halsin, so you guys are like, he's a bro, and I'm like, not to me.
Yeah, some nights he can smoke a different pipe.
Hey.
Okay, so while we're on the subject, what was your reaction when they were like, you're gonna be a bear and you're gonna do bear things?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I completely glossed over that element of the question before.
No, it's okay.
Britt's like, I'm not letting you go on this one.
Yeah. I ridiculously, while that because it was the panel from hell, the launch panel. And I was just off playing five-a-side with my mates at that point, and so I came back and my phone was very warm. It was just what's happened, and then I saw, and right. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Right. They've used that. Cool. Excellent. They used Astarion as the player character to play against, that was very well done.
That was well, yeah.
Yeah, he just won the Golden Joystick Award for, I think, best supporting actor.
Performer. Yep.
Yeah, incredible.
Absolutely amazing and extremely well deserved.
Absolutely.
It was Neil and Amelia up for the same award. And I can imagine it being incredibly close. Incredibly close.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate swept house in those awards. Like
I
it
was
was
gonna say, like shout out to Dave and everyone involved for just like sweeping that picture of Sven
Yeah.
trying to hold all of the golden joysticks is
Yeah.
just a
Amazing.
delightful one.
Well, it's been a
I
stacked
actually-
year for
Juggling
great
them all.
performances in video games to begin with. I mean, so yeah.
Speaking of
it's-
great performers, I actually just got a message from Samantha. She knows that we're recording with you today, Dave, and she says, "All my love to the Big Bear Himbo Man."
I love it.
See, we're just like kindred spirits as himbos are concerned.
Sam is an absolute gem
That
of a
is
human being.
so true.
I've got a question, Dave.
Go for it.
You know, we've been talking a little bit about Halcyon, and we'll pivot back there. But I am curious as to how you got your start in acting and lending your voice to different characters. Like where did this all begin for you?
Well, I did acting like amateur dramatics in my late teens, and then basically got a job where it was shift work 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock at night, like Monday to Saturday. And that basically didn't lend itself to a theatre environment, so it basically went again, just took a back seat, unfortunately. And so years later, I'm in a 9-to-5 job, and basically started to think, no, I need a much more of a creative outlet. So basically started doing things at work that were creative. We had the intranet. I was doing all the pages for that and stuff. We did there were auditions for the adverts for the company as well. And from that, they actually wanted a marketing email campaign, so they sent me down to London for some training. I did some like presenter training, and like on camera training, and then radio training in the afternoon. The radio training, the guy said, "You know what, you're actually all right. In a few months, come back. Here's my card, and we'll like discuss things." And I actually didn't. But I had the USB stick full of all the radio takes and the TV takes, and I put the voice stuff on this Voices Pro at the time. I think it's Mandy now. And somebody got in touch saying, "Do you want to do an induction for a company?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." And I've basically been working with them ever since. Whatever I got from that, seeing as though I was working for the bank as well, I basically put back into training, software, hardware, but primarily training, voice training. There was lots of I'm a massive gamer. I've been a gamer since I was 9. And so that's like 38 years. It's ingrained in me. So I've been like loving doing all that sort of stuff. So I kind of like thought I'd like to get into gaming, and we had I became a member of a voiceover network. They had a Facebook group there, and they had an audition on there for a game, and ridiculously, I bagged the lead. It was my first game. They knew that, and I will be forever grateful to Jennifer Schneiderite at Nyam Nyam Games for casting me as Simon Foreman in Astrologaster. It was a big game for them. It was my first. For them to put the trust in somebody who'd never actually done it before, like I said, I will be always forever grateful to them for that. And introduced me to a BAFTA-winning audio director, Adele Cutting. She's absolutely phenomenal. And then she, after that, directed me on Planet Zoo. And then there's been other great games that from then on, like Lord Winklebottom Investigates, the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow, again with Sam Bayard. And so, yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and hopefully it's not stopping, which is nice.
Question for you. Because this is now, I was on Twitter and I saw that like one of the leads at Larian dropped Hobbs Barrow as the reason like Sam got on his radar. So can you actually tell me what Hobbs Barrow actually is about? Because I'd never heard about it until it started popping up in regards to you all.
I go to a convention in the UK called Adventure X, and it is basically a convention for narrative storytelling games, and a lot of it.
That's cool.
It's amazing. It's so good, and you'll be able to find all the talks on Twitch, I'm pretty sure. The vast majority of them are point and clicks, and Dave Gilbert has done like loads of keynotes over the years for Adventure X, and he does an amazing set of point and click adventure games, and his Wadget Eye games.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're absolutely great. But it wasn't his development that did Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. He was just the publisher this time, and the Excavation of Hobbs Barrow is a point-and-click adventure game set in I think it's the late 1800s, up in Yorkshire, in the north of England. It's, I don't know if you've ever seen the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Or have heard of it.
Which one? Old one?
I only know about the bees.
The original's a classic, y'all. Come on.
Yeah, the original. Yeah, definitely the original, not the Nick Cage one. No.
I was going to say, in the Nick Cage one, he does dress as a bear.
I'm gonna fight you, John.
And punches someone out.
Oh,
I'm just throwing it anyway.
I'm going to mute you.
But yeah, it's that kind of folk horror, and it's got an unnerving tension all the way through it, and yeah, it's got great voice acting in it. I've got a lot of friends involved in that, and yeah, I wholeheartedly check it out. It is good. It is very, very good.
As soon as you said the name Hobbs Barrow, Dave, I was like, this had better be a game set in the 1800s in England. I was like, with a name like Hobbs Barrow, that's the only choice.
Well, and love a good point and click, a good retro styled point and click adventure
I actually
game.
do love point and click. Like I used to play
genuinely
like,
underappreciated genre.
I used to play King's Quest and Quest for Glory all the time when I was a teenager. Or like Police Quest, like all the old Sierra point and click games.
King's Quest 6 is an all-time masterpiece.
What's that?
So I was just saying King's Quest 6 is an all-time great.
Yeah.
So Dave, you mentioned that you became a gamer when you were 9. What game was it that turned you into this life of deviancy?
Well, it wasn't one game in particular. My dad came home and he was carrying this like briefcase with him, and in it was this Spectrum 48K, like basically home computer, and I just there was tons of games that I just played on that, and I got from there to the Amiga, and I the early consoles passed me by, unfortunately, and I wish I'd had them. But yeah, so like the Mega Drive, Sega, the Dreamcast, I think was probably the first the first console I had, and then my first PlayStation was the PlayStation 2, and that was because I went to see my mum and dad, and their next door neighbour was washing the car, and propped up against the wall next to the car, being absolutely doused by water, was a PlayStation 2.
No.
I was thinking, what's up with that? And he said, no, it don't work. So if I get it working, can I have it? Yeah, go for it. And that was my introduction to the PlayStation 2.
Well, hold on, you got it working? It worked?
It was basically the laser had come just. Yep. And it's a very simple fix. It was just like a quarter turn of a Phillips screw. That was it.
That's a common problem with some of those PS2 models. Yep.
Wow.
And so free PS2, baby.
Survived the waterfall.
Yeah. That was the main thing. I was just hoping that like it'd dry okay. I just obviously didn't turn it on for like a good week after I tried it.
You know what's funny is that like it seems like people do that to consoles now whenever they release for like YouTube clicks. Like when the Switch came out, I remember seeing five different videos of like, we're gonna hit our Switch with a pressure washer and see what happens. And it's like, what you know, why are you doing this?
The cottage industry of people dropping consoles to see how they hold up, and it's like,
yeah. All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna climb up one more flight of stairs and drop the PS3 and see what happens. So at some point this thing's not gonna survive anymore. Like, just like, man, what are you doing?
And that basically birthed How Ridiculous, and so that's that they are now the let's throw shit off the high things, the kings of it. So yeah. We'll go up a dam and throw like bowling balls onto a car. Yeah, cool. And to be fair, I'm actually down with that.
It's absolute dude content.
I like destroying things in a healthy way. In a healthy way.
Since the dawn of time, dudes have been breaking things with other things for entertainment, and it's a time-honored tradition.
Speaking of time-honored traditions, we have gone off on a terrible tangent, and this is what it's all about.
Yeah,
I actually want to. Well, hold. What's that?
I said Britt.
No, I'm just leaning on.
No. I was actually going to pivot to Britt too. Like, Britt, let's get you in here, Britt.
Well,
why don't you throw away? I know you got all kinds of stuff rattling around in that head of yours.
I do. So my first, it's not really a question. I just want to tell you my first interaction with Halcyon.
Okay.
So I knew nothing about Baldur's Gate. I only got it for the character creation. I was like, I'm not going to play this. I just want to make pretty characters, right? I got obsessed. Like, I have like 400 hours into it. It's like, it's my jam. I love it. It's like
the character creation.
300 hours of it is character creation.
300 hours is most likely. I mean, I got mods, everything. I'm in that for hours. But so I was romancing Astarion, as one does. And then I came across Halcyon, and I just stopped and I was like, is he romanceable? Yes, I was on Discord with somebody, and he was like, yeah, he is. And I was like, all right, good to know. But yeah, so it was just really cool for me to not only fall in love with the game but the characters. And Halson was one of my favorites. Just he's just silly. He's like he's a bro, but he's also just very down to earth and has quips and just knows what to say, and just like I just loved him. So when it came to you voicing him, like, did you have a favorite part or any kind of like favorite scene that you did?
Ooh, I think some of the clown stuff was quite good. That I remember. Yeah, that was quite funny. Again, there was some of the Orin interactions. They were, although not fantastic as far as fun is concerned, they were incredible sessions to do. But yeah, I think
It's a hard question. I put you on the spot.
Oh no, it's absolutely fine. I think the main thing is you're right in that basically Halson's just this nice, relaxed guy. But I think again the vast majority of the reason why, and I've been thinking about it a lot, because he has been through shit, a lot of stuff, and though he's probably repressed quite a bit of it, there is also the possibility that, seeing as though he's 350 years old, chances are he's managed to work through that stuff.
Yeah.
And so nothing that much phases him anymore. And he's just happy where he is.
Yeah.
In
I
life.
think one thing that really surprised me and that I liked a lot is, like, you mentioned how old he is and that he's been through some shit. And it's interesting to me that, not to bring up the bear again, but in his romance, like, he can't control himself. And it's like, I never would have thought that a 350-year-old druid wouldn't be able to like control instincts like that. So that was a really, really cool new perspective I got on druids that I hadn't really thought of before. So that was cool for me.
I mean, again, I think that speaks to the writing as well, because when when you're romancing Halsin, it's not just another brief encounter for him.
No, he's intense. His romance is intense.
Yeah, it really is, and he says my heart stirs often, but not this hard sometimes. And so it's I think basically when you're romancing him, one of the lines as well, I feel like a lovelorn 90-year-old. It just feels like this dorky teenager around you.
What's funny about all this? You know what's funny about this conversation is my most vivid and hilarious memory of Halsin was my first, because I'm like Brit, like I'm like 350 hours deep into this game, and I've rolled 3 different characters, and my first experience with Halsin, or not my first experience, but my funniest experience with Halsin was back when apparently there was this bug that made all the characters like extra thirsty. And so I was just like having a conversation with Halsin in camp, right? One day he's like, proud to fight beside you, my friend, or whatever, right? Like he was, I was like, cool, thanks, buddy. And I leave the camp and I come back and I go to talk to Halsin again, just because I like conversing with different characters, see if there's, new dialogue options. And right off the bat, Halsin is like, I've taken many lovers over the years. And I'm like, Halsin, calm down. Like, buy me dinner first. Like, Jesus. Halsin. But then I noticed that all the other characters were doing it too. And I was like, look, I'm
fine. Do dinner after. What do you mean?
Fine. So what's that, Britt?
I said you could just do dinner after. It's fine.
but that's when but I didn't know that there was this bug at the time. So all of a sudden the entire camp was like, I want a piece. I want a piece of John. And I'm like, what is going on? I was like, am I like excreting some kind of pheromone? Like what is happening? And then
Well, that's how you can tell it's a fantasy game, John.
well, that's true. That's true. I mean, well, like, I guess they took the bug out, and now I kind of wish they hadn't.
So,
Because
like,
I don't feel loved anymore.
Bring back the dating sim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, man, nobody wants me anymore. Oh, man.
like speaking
You gotta
of
work for it like
romances.
the rest of us.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Sorry.
No. I was like going to say, speaking of romances, I think another thing that I really love to talk about, and I'm not sure if you guys did with Sam or not, but just the types of relationships that you can have. Like obviously with Halson, you can be poly, and there's all sorts of gay representation and just like all these relationships that are just very progressive. And I think Larian's like the first to kind of do anything like that on a scale. What are your thoughts on that? Like when you discovered all of this stuff, like how did you feel about it?
I am just incredibly happy that there are so many people catered for in this game.
Absolutely.
Representation is off the charts, and so I think it's fantastic. I really do. I mean, yeah, Halson, he's definitely pansexual.
Of course, yeah.
And why not? I mean, so yeah.
If you turn into a bear, I mean, I guess you don't really
I was
have
gonna say
any
around
kind
year
of-
300 too, you're probably getting kind of open-minded about like, yeah, we're all just people,
Well,
man.
you're also probably, I think, by the time you're like 300, 350 years old, at this point, you're probably like, I have no more fucks to give.
Yeah.
So,
Or you have
Halson
to
has a
give
lot of fucks
everybody,
to
not
give.
just
Yeah, that's the opposite of it.
Yeah.
So, Dave, I think it's not so much a question as it is just like an observation, because I think it's really a testament to your acting that Halson is so beloved, even though as a companion, you come into the game relatively late compared to some of the others that everyone always interacts with. And even then, you don't become more of a presence until deep into like Act 2. And I just shout out to you, man. Like that's
And Halson's
impressive.
one of the easier characters to have leave
To
your
miss.
party.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I mean, that is incredibly kind. At the same time, when you first clap eyes on him, he's just a beefcake, isn't he?
yeah.
I can confirm that, yeah.
He is large. He's a big boy.
Yeah, very, very much so. And so, it's. I mean, there are clear avenues as to why the players probably wanted a bit more of him as well. I mean, I could have been, I could have had that voice as an Illithid, and I don't think there would have been as many memes. Yeah.
Well, and like I think it's easy for everybody to focus on like the thirst and the popularity and the daddy jokes and things like that, but one of the things that I think, and I have seen people talk about it, it's just something that requires a little bit more complexity to get into, is that in a cast full of like hurt people and misfits, right? Halson is kind of uniquely very emotionally healthy, right? He's a very like positive masculinity type of because he, like I said, he is built like a beefcake, right? He is this like large, extremely masculine guy, and he's also incredibly supportive, incredibly sweet, incredibly in tune with his feelings in a way that's kind of unique for characters both who are in that space of, you're working on it, in that space of masculinity. And also, I think for like druid characters in fiction in general, who tend to be either like, stern old shamans or like, total hippies, and also occupies this very different space. you know, how much kind of feedback have you gotten or have you heard from fans about that aspect of Halsin, right? Of him being the grown up one in so many ways, the stable one.
There's been a lot of people got in touch and said that it's nice to have a character that is not only like nicely rounded and probably quite the sane one along amongst a bunch of incredibly sometimes chaotic people. I think again, I think there are probably elements that could be explored as far as his past is concerned and his his reaction or his growth through those. I mean that could probably again not only be a good story, but could also help quite a few players as well for avenues that they've probably been down. And so, yeah, I think it's there's been a nice feedback loop from people who have been touched by not having how can I put that, quite the toxic masculinity that could very well have been written for him. Because he is, like you say, built like a brick shit house. He looks like your archetypal gaming fodder, but he's written completely differently.
Yeah. Well, and like, if I may.
No, Derek, please, please.
I think this gets more into comment than question territory, right? But like, you know, you as somebody who has been gaming since like 9, like, you know, the impact fiction can have on us, especially in our formative years. I sure hope no 9-year-olds are playing Baldur's Gate. But like, I can imagine a lot of young men, you know, in their late teens, early 20s, you know, playing a game like Baldur's Gate and getting very attached and seeing, you know, really, really positive aspects and, you know, like things to model after in Halsin, but also see that the internet is absolutely bricked up over this man. Like, to show that, like, hey, in real life, this is the kind of person that a lot of people are very attached to, you know, whether that's just on a pure physical attraction level or an emotional attraction level, is like somebody who is you know, a good guy, that being a good guy is not a wimpy thing.
That, and definitely it's like it's a proper 2 fingers to Andrew Tate.
Sure.
It's a complete diametrically opposed viewpoint. And so
I'm just absolutely
all
beat the shit out of Andrew Tate. I'm sorry, but like,
Halsin
would break that man.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting that a game that does have so much representation in, you know, this kind of thing where, you know, they want women to be pretty and have makeup and you can't be gay, and, you know, there's like so many controversial, like, I say controversial, but for them controversial like topics and, you know, relationships and everything. And like, I hope with the success of Baldur's Gate, and because it relies so heavy on building relationships, you know, with these characters that have all of these traits, I hope it makes other devs like kind of look onto that and see how good it is, and like start make it more mainstream.
Yeah, I think hopefully there's less fear about putting something like that in your game.
Yeah.
Because there would not even 10 years ago have been pushback about putting a lot of the stuff that we put in.
I remember the Mass Effect trilogy, like, famously is at its time was like a high watermark for queer representation in games, and at the same time it was drips of water in the desert, right? I mean, they were the actual amount of queer content in that series is minuscule, and BioWare had to fight so hard for that. So to see kind of where Baldur's Gate got to build off of what a lot of like older BioWare games were starting to lay the foundation, it gives me a lot of hope, right, for kind of where we're heading as storytellers and artists.
I think as well, a lot of it has got to be down to the fact that Larian in itself is not it's not an anomaly in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's got a different set of circumstances where it can actually push the envelope without basically without frightening shareholders. And so it's not beholden to other people that will effectively pull the purse strings. And so in that respect, they can do exactly what they want. And thankfully, what they want to do is very much in the minds of quite a lot of people the right way to do things. Proper, decent representation, and just on top of that, a damn good fucking game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's people always grumbled when Divinity and then like went the Kickstarter route, and then Divinity 2 went Kickstarter, and then they got the Baldur's Gate license and they went early access. But you know what? If the end result is they get to do what they want on their timetable, then good. Like, cool.
I mean, yeah, I've got to probably like backtrack a little bit on that. They're not like beholden to shareholders. However, they are still answerable to Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
But thankfully, those guys were just as happy with what Larian were doing. So yeah, thankfully, it was very much a match made in heaven as far as Larian and Wizards were concerned.
It's interesting
If
to
you
bring
know
up.
anything about Wizards, is that especially in the current resurgence of D&D, like this is pretty much what they go for. So
Yeah.
good.
I was going to say it's interesting to bring up Wizards of the Coast because an aspect we haven't really touched on, we know you have a lot of history with video games, but what kind of is your history with things like D&D and tabletop gaming? Is this something that you've really never touched on, or like is this your foray into that world through Baldur's Gate?
Yep, I'd never touched it before now. I think as I didn't as far as like multiplayer games are concerned. When I was growing up, it was going around to my mates at lunchtimes from school, and basically the three of us around a PC doing the Return from Monkey Island.
Yeah.
And basically just all three of us just trying to work everything out. That was it as far as but yeah, D&D I've not touched it. I gotta say as well, Cypher, Tanya, she I absolutely
we love Tanya here. Yeah.
She, when I went to Comic-Con, she went to the panel from Hell, and they were given D&D starter sets. So they had like, and which Tanya was like, we've played this a lot, don't you? So we don't really need the starter sets. But when she heard on another podcast that I'd not actually played it, she brought me that starter set, and so I've got it here.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool. That's again very Tanya. She's incredible.
Yes,
Tanya's she's so nice.
So I'm so incredibly humbled by that. That was so nice. And yeah, I've been reading the book, but still not cracked it open yet. I've not got like a massive circle of friends.
Yeah.
Like around here.
I feel that.
And it's a huge time commitment too. Like genuinely, it's something we've been trying to put together to do some D&D, and it has taken an absurd amount of time to get the stars to align to make that begin to happen. So
I think what's also really cool about I was always interested in D&D, but it was always very complicated to me because I'm a visual learner, and that's something that this game did was help me learn to understand like how things work, how turns work, like how much you can move, like all the stuff and the abilities. Like it was a really good learning experience for me, and like it made me want to play D&D more.
Yeah. I think
Has
as well.
this actually inspired you to play, Dave?
See, I saw the one shot that they did for High Rollers.
Oh my god, that was so good.
Wasn't it?
Tim was hilarious. He was, oh my god.
Big magic. Yeah, I think I'd probably do something like that. Again with like a good like a big group of people. But yeah, I if it was like a small group, I think I'd probably feel a little bit overwhelmed, or not so much overwhelmed, but in the spotlight probably. So yeah, I don't know. I'd like to. I would like to, because that looked so much fun, and everybody else was like, there were quite a few people who'd never played it before, and everyone was just being like gently guided into it, and yeah, that looked so much fun, and yeah, it was.
Would you go druid, or would you want to try something different?
I don't know. I'd probably try something different. I think. Why not? If I've got the opportunity to do something different, yeah, hell yeah.
Variety's the spice of life, after all.
Yeah.
So, I've got a question. So, obviously, like I think we're all going to go ahead and assume that Baldur's Gate 3 is probably, I would say, the favorite for Game of the Year at the Game Awards this year, right? I think at this point, I mean, I think at this point the writing's on the wall with this one. It's the highest reviewed game of the year. It's the highest reviewed game in a few years, actually, I think.
It certainly made a tremendous impact.
And so I think that is the clear favorite for Game of the Year. That being said, even if it doesn't, I mean, it'll be nominated, but even if it doesn't win, Dave, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the biggest releases in recent memory. And I think I think in terms of impact and sales, it went far above and beyond what anybody involved in the creation of it actually expected, right? Like Baldur's Gate 3 just like really blew up. So I guess my question is coming off the heels of one of the biggest releases of the year, certainly the most well-received release of the year, like what's next for you? Like is there something you want to do? Is there a particular franchise you personally would like to be involved in? Like where do you see yourself going from here?
What's the dream Halson project?
Halson DLC. There we go.
I honestly haven't a clue. Seeing as though, like 3 or 4 years ago, I had not a clue how big this would be received. Anything that I start now that would be like fairly biggish, I wouldn't actually see what the end point would be for another 3 or 4 years. And so I think I'm I'm happy to just go with the flow, and see what else. I don't really have any like thing, okay, right, I'll just try and like put that on my mood board, and like I'll try and manifest it. And I'm just, I think I'm probably a bit too much like Halton in that respect. I'm just like, go with the flow.
do you think there's still a certain amount of shock to it all? Because I can't imagine that even 6 months ago you had any clue how huge like you and the rest of the cast were going to be elevated, how popular the game would be and how much that would translate to all of the main cast as performers. To become like an internet micro celebrity dang near overnight is something that you're never really prepared for.
The early access was eye-opening in itself. Saying, yeah, okay, right, there's quite a few people very happy to play this. A lot of people extremely happy and very dedicated to play it. When the final panel from Hell got released and the sales just took off, that was okay. That there was an element of right, brace yourselves.
Yeah.
And when it finally got released and the embargo on the reviews got taken down, that and all the reviews started not even flooding in because it was too big for them to flood in, and they'd only been given the press codes I think only about a week before, and so there were a lot of placeholder reviews, and so right, okay, for now we're going to say it's good, but we're still playing it. We're going to like put our review up in like a week or so's time, and so when finally and it took about a week for Metacritic to like say, yeah, this is basically a massively, very, very critically acclaimed game. That was when it properly hit home. It was at one point it was like 97 and just like staying there, and it was just like in the like the I still think it's like it's definitely in the top 10 of like highest rated like PC games of all time.
I mean, I think it is one of the highest rated games ever ever released. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. 9-year-old me would not be able to comprehend at all that. It's just insane.
I love that for you.
And me too,
Right?
man. Like,
It's awesome.
Thank
Good
you.
people deserve good things,
Thank you.
Yeah.
which is why Dave Jones gets a great thing.
like I'd like I want to echo something that Britt and Finn just said in that, like, it's really cool, especially after the year the industry has had with, over 6,000 layoffs and stuff. It, like, it feels like these days we're grasping for all the good news we can get our hands on. And definitely I think one of the most positive things for me this year, or at least to come out for the industry this year, is just one, I mean, there's three things really. Like, there's one, the wonderful reception that Baldur's Gate 3 has received. Two, Larian Studios is now on the map in a way that I don't think they ever even expected.
Oh,
And
so
and three, all of the talent involved in bringing these characters to life has been received with, I mean, just complete universal acclaim. And all of it is incredibly well deserved. And so in a year where it's frustrating to hear people say, well, it's been a great year for games, because it has, but it hasn't generally been a great year for the people making the games.
yep.
To see Larian and all of you kind of thriving the way you are is deeply, I think, deeply not just satisfying, but also like comforting for a lot of people. And that, there's still some really good stuff happening in the industry, and this is all a great example of that.
And again, I'm just hoping that a lot of people aren't looking at Larry and saying that they're an outlier. You don't have to be an outlier. You can still have great, if you've got great ethics, if you again, I don't think it's a little bit it's harder to compare Larian to other companies, seeing as though, again, you've got like corporate structures that are completely different, and so it's I don't like the ridiculous corporate nature of a lot of the studios. How they swoop in, buy smaller studios.
Embrace your corp.
Yeah.
Mm.
Purely for their IP, and
Yeah.
basically just dissolve the studio again. There's been so many studios that have gone under. Not only layoffs. Was it Volition? earlier this year?
Volition is
yeah.
gone. Yeah.
Man, what a studio! I mean, it's just, and again, that is just somebody buying the studio, getting the IP, and that's it. They don't care anymore, and it's a travesty, an absolute travesty. And so yeah, it's been a horrible year for many devs. And it's when we say, yeah, it's been a great year for video games. Yeah, at the same, we've got to actually say, yeah, it has been a fucking great year for video games. But take a look at the corporations. It's that side of it. The corporate structures, the corporate element. Yeah, it's not great. Not great at all.
I think it's also great that Larian is proof that if you take time with a game and don't just like push it out, like it look how great it can be, you know? Like if you put time into the game and you don't crunch your you know, your employees, like
If
look
you
look what happens. A great product.
trust your
If you-
artists and your designers instead of focus testing a game into oblivion, right?
Yeah, and again, a lot of that's like down to early access, and a lot of that is basically saying, right, we'll put it out when it's ready. The old Blizzard way.
Yeah.
Basically saying, yeah, we'll just when it's ready, we'll put it out then and not before. I mean, in Larian's case, we'll actually put it out 3 weeks early. How's that? And everyone said, seriously? And yeah, all right, they did it. So yeah, it's yeah, that's it. It can be. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be shit all the time. You can do it in a very good way, like you said, without crunch, treating the devs and artists right, and yeah. What can you say?
You could just
So, no, go, Britt.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you can definitely tell everybody who worked on this game, the actors especially, just loved their role, and you know how they were treated, and you know I'm on TikTok a lot, and I follow a lot like Dev, and um, it's just really fun. I don't think I've ever seen another game where the voice actors are so positive, you know, about their characters and, you know, love to talk about them and reenact them. And it's been such a warming experience. Like it almost like makes it feel personal in that way. Yeah, it's been amazing to see like the cast just embracing everything and just loving it. And I think it's just, we don't really see that often. So
I think a lot of that is down to the fact that we've had so many meaningful and incredibly respectful interactions with the fans. I mean, D&D's base inherently is incredibly creative. When you've got when you've got the base that is creative like that, there's going to be a high proportion of it that's going to be very good artistically. And so a lot of the fan art has been phenomenal, so on point. And so everybody that we've actually like talked to in person at conventions and also just online with the art, and then basically just the videos that we do. It's all of it has been incredibly positive, and it's hard not to carry on and be and still output like not silly videos, but like just funny shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
yeah.
like it's not just like, you know, the big like name characters. People love the side characters, and
Yeah.
I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I think she was the voicing director or casting person, and she like basically goes around and is like, you know, here's the side character that you love. Like they're making a TikTok now because you guys love them so much, you know, and it's awesome to see like even the little guys get representation and love.
Yeah. Oh, and there's so many. Like we said, there's like 248 actors in this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they're not voicing the characters; they are the characters.
Absolutely.
Because, like I said, like we've been all those actors for the thousands of characters. They do the performance capture for them. It's not just the voice.
Yeah.
When they're doing the voice stuff for it, apart from the speaking with animals, obviously it's going to be a bit harder. We get suited up, and we're in the not nicely fitting lycra with the markers all over. And so yeah, when you see we are breathing life into those characters, literally, because when we breathe, the characters breathe, and you actually see that. When we breathe in, they breathe in, and so you're actually their life is our life, and the motion capture element, it's so much fun, and we did it so much.
Yeah.
There's only a small element of voicing that I did, just like purely voiceover, and that's when the cameras zoomed all the way out, and basically I'm just a small character on the screen, and it's basically just when he's fighting and stuff like that. There's not a need for me to be in a mocap suit for that. But that's like an incredibly small part. The rest of it, I'm fully suited up. And we do absolutely everything. And then, yeah, so when those when those like 248 actors are putting on that suit and they're doing all these, and they're not even incidental characters. They when they say it takes a village, in this case, it's taken almost like a town. It's just there's so many wonderful, interesting characters that these actors have like had the not the ability to play, had the pleasure to play. I've not come across one of them yet that's had a bad experience, because they've all been really well written and they've all been damn fun to play. And so, yeah, it's not surprising that you've got actors on TikTok with there are no small roles. There's no small roles.
Well,
but with a character with a few lines being like extremely pleased, not pleased, just proud to like, to like say, this is me, and come and have some fun. It's great. I don't know if you hear that I've got some building work going on next door. That's terrible.
You're good.
I can't hear
Dave,
anything.
We have one final question for you. It's the most important question of the show.
Damn it, Finn! I already know what it's going to be. I hate you.
It's the most vital question. I apologize in advance for the gotcha journalism, but in your heart of hearts, if you have to choose, Cake or pie?
Cake or pie? Oh God. That's not fair. Really not fair. Oh shit. There's
You don't have to answer, Dave. You don't have to
no,
answer.
I do. This is
It does,
this is
John.
damn serious.
Can't believe Finn would
Um,
put you on the spot like this.
Well, no, you've asked the food question now, so that's it.
It's obviously cake. Cake is better than pie.
You
I
can't
don't know, 'cause
influence the guests, John.
I like pastry as well, though. I mean, look at this chin. That's not.
That's
So,
not just cake.
The camera's cutting off the jiggly I got, but trust me, I get it. Fellow big boy here.
We've got a great dish over here, and for some reason I'm absolutely blanking on it, but it's basically almost like you've got a pie. You've got the pie pastry, and basically it's a layer of like raspberry or strawberry jam or jelly, and then it's basically a cake mixture on top. And so you can basically have your pie and eat cake. It's great.
Get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so I think I'd probably go for that, to be honest.
So both. You know what? You're allowed.
The swerve answer. I'll take it. I'll allow it.
You're allowed to pick both here.
Cut the Gordian knot.
So we have come to the end of our time with Dave this morning. One, because we're a little over an hour, and two, I did promise my wife I would do the dishes today, and I don't want to be a liar. So here now is where we must part. But Dave, thank you so much for joining us, man. Like I said, we know that you're busy, and so for you to take even just an hour of your time on a weekend, no less, to kind of talk with us about Halzen and yourself, just it means the world to us. So thank you so much again for that.
Honestly, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, anytime. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We greatly appreciate it. And you'll be watching this for the first time during the live show, and of course it will be available on YouTube and Spotify afterward, as always. So thank you everyone for joining us, and remember that kindness costs nothing. Take care of each other.
Wait. Before you cut off, where can we find you, Dave?
Yes.
Oh, good question.
I'm on pretty much everything as Dave Jones actor.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll find me there. Thank you.
Thank you, Britt.
Of course.
Catch
That's
Sean
why you keep me
Lacken.
around. See, that's my title. You keep me around to remember these things.
That's right. That's true. I do. Wow, like the sun just like came through the clouds. Like you guys see what's happening in my, like all of a sudden it's like God. It looks like on the screen it looks like a nuclear detonation went off outside.
John,
that's just-
now it is time to do chores.
Oh my God, it's so bright. What the hell just happened? Anyway, take care of each other, guys, and we'll see you next week.